Good evening, and welcome to the Fredonia Central School District Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024. We start each meeting with a pledge to our flag, and I've got some help this evening. Ms. Hartung, would you introduce my helpers?
Absolutely. So these are my Hillbilly Harmonic Select Chorus. These are all fourth graders that auditioned to be part of our Select Chorus program last June. This group goes and performs all over Western New York and competes in many different activities. This year we're going to be going for the third year in a row to Darien Lake Music Fest, in which last year we took first place, so we're hoping to come back with a vigor and take this group. We're a couple of loose tonight because, of course, you know, we have so many kids involved in so many activities, but this strong group of singers is ready to perform for you this evening.
So if everyone would please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now you have another treat for us.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous flight, and the land was we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the balls bursting in air, did prove through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, sang as that star-spangled banner yet waved, o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Hillbilly Harmonics. Thank you, everyone. If you couldn't tell, we have a music program tonight and a special presentation from our music department, and that's just a small sliver. Correct, Mr. Bennett?
Correct.
Okay, so we have an agenda for tonight's meeting. It includes some consent items. I'd like a motion to bring it forward, but before I do that, we're going to move a few things around. So what I'd like to do is we're going to go through hearing from the public, and at that point in time we're going to move a few things forward. One is item number 7A1, 7C2, 7C3, and 5.3. Excuse me. I've got my numbers messed up here. It will not be 5.3. But then we will be moving to 5 right after that before we go to the approval of minutes. So that order again is 7A1, 7C2, 7C3, then item number 5. If I could have a motion to approve that agenda along with the consent. Ms. Paul Fortner, and a second.
Second.
Mr. Marshall. Is there any questions, or is there anything anyone else would like to pull forward? Okay, if not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. So the board has reserved this time to hear comments from the audience. Those wishing to address the board are asked to stand, give their name and address, and limit their comments to 5 minutes or less per individual or group. Is there anyone who would like to address the board tonight? No? Okay then. We go on to item number 7A1. If I could have a motion to approve the resignation of Alex Conai, effective July 1st for the purpose of retirement, with regret from the board.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Ms. Hahn. Mr. Ziliak, before you do this, I will say this. I have threatened to decline this acceptance. I have known Alex for a long time. And if anyone asked me, this is personal notes, this isn't from the board, okay? This is me personally. If anyone ever asked me, Fredonia, Hillbilly, Spirit, there's one name that comes to my mind, and that's Alex Conai. I've known him for a long time. He's a tremendous athlete. He's a tremendous spirit. He was at so many different sporting events in high school. He was at all of them. My respect grew tremendously for him when he showed up at a 6:30 a.m. swim practice and swam with the swim team several times. This is a tough one, Alex. Mr. Ziliak?
Yeah, before I turn it over to Mr. Paschke and anybody else who would like to comment, and don't forget at our last meeting, we kind of delayed speaking also about Mrs. Clark and Mrs. Walzerman over here tonight, so we'll get to them in a couple minutes here. But you know, from me to you, Coach, you've helped my transition here greatly, and I appreciate all the conversation and dialogue. As a former wrestling kid and coach, I absolutely appreciate everything you've done for wrestling here in the local area and beyond. And I see on a daily basis your interaction and good nature and good humor with our students and staff. So much appreciated. Mr. Paschke.
You know, every administrator has a couple of teachers who will come in and share thoughts with you on a personal level, on a professional level. You know, and Alex and I have had that relationship. He's always been able to come in, and we don't always agree, but there's always that mutual respect. And I've appreciated learning from Alex, and I hope Alex may have learned one or two things from me, but I certainly took a lot from Alex. You know, I thank Alex most for the culture that he has brought to our school. Alex has been a tremendous influence on the students in our school, not just as a phys ed teacher, but just as a good human being. Alex takes time. You know, and a lot of people don't know about the little things. You know, we'll stop and like we'll have meetings with our student support staff, and there will be a student that might be struggling in a certain area, and oftentimes we have that discussion, like, you know what, let's talk to Alex, and Alex can take that kid under his wing. Alex takes time at the beginning of every school year with his phys ed classes and teach them how to do the fire drill correctly. Little things that people don't know that make a huge difference. I remember just the past few superintendents, you know, as we do our fire drills, they're like, what do you guys, how did you, the kids don't make a sound, they walk out there, they're like in alphabetical order, they're doing what they need to do, and a lot of that is thanks to Alex. You know, Alex pulls the kids aside and he teaches them not just how to act during a fire drill, but he teaches them how to act to be a good person. You know, when I walk into the gym into one of Alex's classes, Mr. Conti will stop and you know, if the kids say hi or whatever, and he always like No, that's hi, Mr. Paschke. You know, the respect, the discipline, the care, and the love that Alex has given our kids is really second to none. And Alex, I'm going to miss you tremendously. So thank you for all that you've given to Fredonia and to me personally.
Any comments from the board?
We love you. And
We
our
will-
kids love you.
We will vote, and then I will let you, because I'm not sure that this is going to pass, okay? With regret, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Mr. Conti, any comments?
Yeah, you know, I've been very, very fortunate because my graduating class, I can go 3 years ahead and 3 years behind. And I can't think of anybody in that 7-year span that I didn't like in our school. And because of that, having their kids made teaching just great. I had one class where I had 17 kids in my class. I was either related to or I was close personal friends with their parents, which allowed me to tell them how awesome their parents were, which then in turn, it's been great. I have to thank the board, I said it in the letter, just the opportunities that the board gave me to go out and coach. Greatly appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So in our last meeting, we did accept the letters for retirement of both Mrs. Clark and Mrs. Waltermeal. And if you don't know, their rooms happen to be right across the hall from each other at the end of the 4th grade wing in the elementary school. And if you take a walk down there any morning or midday or afternoon, a couple things strike you. One is enthusiasm. One is active learning and students doing rather than sitting and really getting involved. You also hear a lot of voices and students interacting, whether it's with them or with each other. You see a lot of smiles, and you get a very positive vibe and a positive feeling from that part of the building. Not that that's not true of our school in general, but it's magnified at that end of the hallway. I certainly have appreciated getting to know each of you over the past 3 years and see what you do on a daily basis when I'm taking a lap in the morning. So thank you for really engaging our students. Thank you for bringing that positivity and that enthusiasm. And thank you for being teachers that our students remember. And I'll throw it out there to Mr. Jollinger.
Yeah, so it kind of comes full circle. I believe Janice was on my interview committee, so thank you.
The only one I was ever on.
Well, there you go. So, I appreciate it. But no, so it started there, and our relationship has grown, and it is the things, it comes full circle. It's the things you do in the classroom that the kids remember, because the arts unit is something that stands out, and kids still talk about that, but most importantly, the play that you put on every year is just like, these are the things that live on, like long after you go. Like people will still talk about those things. And I know my friends that went to Fredonia that had you, like a generational teacher is really something special. And Julie, you too. I mean, just the amount of time that you've put in to the school, your dedication is second to none. And the cool thing about you is when COVID hit, you kind of like wanted to learn new things and you kind of ran with it. And that's something that I'll learn from you as well. Like it's important to just roll the punches, learn new things, and continue to grow. So I'll miss you both tremendously. It won't be the same, but we're going to continue the year-long celebration as we honor you guys, and it'll ramp up. But and I know you worked with Amy too, and things like that. So
Over 10 years together with both of them, and I just remember all of the letters and correspondence from parents just praising both Julie and Janice for the time that their children spent in their classrooms and the care that both of you spent, and got to know Julie's daughter a little bit on a trip to Italy that I chaperoned, and great kids, great families. I'm so glad that you're going to have the time with your families now and grandbabies and whatnot. So much congratulations, so well deserved, but what a loss to Fredonia. Right there's two legacies right there. Very, 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 very missed.
Great. Thank you for your service.
Just so you know, the resolutions were also with regret.
I just listened for, I don't know if I'm allowed to speak, but it doesn't matter now, I can kind of do what I want. I was waiting for with regret, so thank you. I don't know if I can say, but I will talk right now. And Julie can
Please.
follow me.
Yeah.
I have, when you put it in writing, it's real. Tonight makes it real. And we walked down here with such nervousness because this has been my life. I've been teaching in New York State for 49 years. It'll be 47 in Fredonia at the end of June. And it was time. And I have the best memories, the best administrator, superintendent. I've said this to them privately, so I'm not just saying it publicly, but I've enjoyed my time. Fredonia has been so good to me. It's been my life. I am dedicated as Julie and Alex are, and we put a lot of our soul, heart and soul into what we do. It's time, and I know in June it'll be bittersweet, and I'll walk out that door with so many great memories and a lot of sadness. But I want to thank everybody, and I've come in contact with parents, students back there, colleagues. You can't be replaced. You've been giving me 49 years of a wonderful life. Thank you.
I did announce my retirement to my friends first. Janice was not retiring this year. And in September, she's like, I'm not ready yet, I'm not ready yet. And then she'd have a computer issue and she'd be like, thank you so much, Julie. I don't know what I would do without you. And then, I'm not ready yet, I'm not ready yet. And I'd be like, I am. My mother's 87, my father's 88. My Aunt Dottie is 85, and Publix just delivered a half a dozen eggs with 4 broken. I can't do this long distance anymore. I have to make sure that I'm there for her. But yeah, but then all of a sudden, Janice said, I might be ready. So it's my fault because of the computer technology. But she can't do it without me. We're going together. Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. So as we have 3 retirees who will be leaving our district, we also have someone who's moving up. So if I could have a motion to approve the appointment of Jamie Polhamus to the position of interim middle school principal effective January 3rd, 2024.
So moved.
Ms. Paul Fortnell. In a second.
Second.
Mr. Johnston. Mr. Ziliaks.
I think we've talked as a board and the governance team about the fantastic job Jamie has done over the past several weeks, really taking care of everyone at the middle school, students and adults, and making sure that we continue to stick together as a team and we continue to work hard, not only to support each other, but to make sure we keep that positive education going in place that's been in the middle school for several years now. So I'm excited to have Jamie on board. Really appreciative that she decided to step up into the position, and we're very much looking forward to working with her moving forward here over the next several months. So thank you and congrats. Anyone else?
Any questions from the board? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ms. Polhamus, thank you very much. Is there anything you'd like to say real quick? I'm
Well,
putting
thank
you on the spot, sorry.
I sort of saw it coming. But thank you for your confidence in me, your support of myself, our building. Certainly not how we envisioned this would happen, but I've been so fortunate to have such a strong administrative team, a district office included. I mean, the last few weeks have definitely been a challenge, but it has not just been me that's doing this. They've been amazing, and I cannot sing the praises enough of our middle school family. The staff is just remarkable. They're remarkably resilient for themselves, for their kids. So, yes, I'm very grateful for all of that. So thank you.
Thank you. And next, we have the appointment of Ivana Height to a position of intern middle school assistant principal effective January 24th. If I could have a motion to bring that to the floor, please. Ms. Goa, and a second.
Second.
Mr. Hawk. Mr. Ziliaks.
Yeah, we put a lot of time, effort, and energy into helping arrange the administrative piece, see you guys, at the middle school moving forward. And as I noted at a faculty meeting with the middle school, that nothing would move forward without Jamie being involved and being part of that conversation. And Ivana came forward, who's a retired administrator from Westfield, with many years of experience. She just finished up interim principal at Sherman for about the past 6 months, and also had a son and daughter who went through our school and graduated around, I think, 2010, 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. So she certainly has connections to Fredonia. Ironically, also, she worked with Paula Troutman in Westfield. So she actually knows Paula, and was part of the reason that she was interested in coming back and helping our district. So, in speaking with her, along with Jamie, just that experience and her ability just to kind of drop into this situation with her amount of experience, with her background, we felt was just the best fit for us at the moment. And although that will only run until the end of February, we felt like this was a good bridge to whatever that next step is with somebody with so much experience. So we felt fortunate to have her step forward, and we appreciate everybody who submitted their name for consideration. And everybody did a fantastic job in that process. And it's nice to have a few different options, but in this case we felt this was the best path to take. So we're looking forward to her coming on board.
Great. Any questions from the board? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much. Next, what we've all been waiting for. We have a special presentation from the Corona Central School District Music Program.
Before we get started, we're going to have kind of a bookend of a performance. January and February is the season of our all concerts. Those are the concerts when we see our students start their musical journeys all the way through towards the end. So we're doing that here tonight. You heard our select chorus starting their musical journey, and now we're lucky enough to hear our chamber chorus under the direction of Mr. Ryan Shanahan to open our portion of the presentation.
us to the sleeping world below. Like the softly falling snow.
Thank you for letting us perform for you. Cool cross-curricular connection. They had no idea what was going on, so I had to explain, like, this is kind of how, like, local government and community works, and this is the agenda, and this is, you know, this is what all this stuff means. So thank you. It's a great opportunity for them. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also want to thank their accompanist, Susan Chris. Can we give her a round of applause, too? She even gave us some nice intro music before the meeting started. I thought that was lovely. So I am Andy Bennett. I'm the music department instructional leader. And about 11 years ago, I started collecting data on our district and our school music program. And then Paul DeFonso said, why don't you put together a report? And I want to thank the board for continuing to allow us to do this. It is just my favorite night of the year that's not my own birthday, when I get to share all the good things that our students are doing with you. And I want to thank our wonderful district clerk. Clickers aren't working, so she is our in-person clicker. This report will be online. We want to make it as accessible to everyone as possible. Every year I get emails and phone calls from department chairs all across the state. I've even presented at conferences on our data collection methods. But I also love hearing from community members, from alumni, about all the great stuff going on. So that QR code works, the link works, it'll all be on our social, probably in about 2 hours. So, I want to thank our high school chamber chorus and our elementary select chorus for performing tonight. First, by the numbers. My father taught math for 37 years. It's a noble subject, so I always like to start there. Our district population, K through 12, is 1,401 students as of this fall. We have 1,117 students taking a music course this year. So essentially 80% of FCSD students in grades K through 12 are enrolled in music courses. To break that down a little bit more, we have 872 students performing in ensembles. That is our bands, our orchestras, and our choruses. That is 71% of all students in eligible grades. As Mrs. Piper and I talk about a lot, we only have ensembles in grades 2 through 12. In addition, in grades 4 through 12, we have almost 500 students participating in our extracurricular music activities. This is our musicals, this is our jazz ensembles, our select choruses. A few highlights of the year 2023. We were named a National Association for Music Merchants Best Community for Music Education for the 11th year in a row. Only about 5% of the districts in the nation received that designation. 244 solos were performed by Fredonia students at CCMTA and NISMA events. That is students who are performing upper level works, including collegiate level works. And I will tell you, we are going to blow past that number this year. We are hosting the CCMTA Solo Festival here in a few weeks. 500 students are registered. Almost 200 of them are Fredonia students. So we continue to set records. I can't wait for next year's report. Of those students, 194 students earned seats in county and state honor ensembles, including our all-state selected student, Miriam Labar. I don't know if she's Miriam Lee. All right, well, her mom's here. How about a round of applause for her mom? Yay! And Elspeth Van Det also was an alternate. Just to give you an idea, we're at a point in the state where you have to get almost 100 on this solo 2 years in a row. And this year, there are about 600 students who received hundreds and were not selected for these ensembles. So you have to earn 100 and be the top 100 in your auditioning room. It is incredibly competitive now, in a way. We're so happy for Miriam. That's what I'll say. And Ellie. We continue to offer a rigorous college credit in music worth 9 credits. I'd like to point out that 90% of our students who took AP Music Theory last year earned credit. That's 28% higher than the state average and 30% than the global average. So we're very happy with those numbers. We continue to strengthen our partnerships with SUNY Fredonia. I have more in the works I can't wait to tell you about next year. But our summer lesson program continues to grow. We had over 80 students participate, and we're very grateful for the 12 teachers who lent their wisdom to them this summer. 6 ensembles performed at NISMA Majors. This was a new record for us, and all of them earned gold or silver, which is fantastic. Our 4th grade select chorus took first place at the Darien Lake Music Fest, so bravo to Mrs. Hartung. And we invited many guest artists to work with students. We see it as our responsibility to expose our students to the wider musical opportunities and world around them. So we were happy to invite artists from the Buffalo Philharmonic. The Egalitarian Brass Quintet was a fantastic group from New York City. All female brass players. The students really seem to enjoy that, and even more. And this is an interesting one. We spent some American Rescue Plan money a few years ago to start streaming our concerts. In just the year 2023, that's the year it is. Sorry, 2000 I was in high school. But over 2,000, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know I don't look that young, but here I am. Over 2,000 people streamed concerts. And when you look at the data, there actually are a lot of Fredonia people who seem to share the concert out and watch it, but it is nice to hear that grandparents and relatives far away have a chance to experience those concerts in real time, as opposed to just, the shaky cell phone videos that we know are also being taken. We believe here at Fredonia that students should not just learn to be good musicians, but good people. So we try to instill as much character education as we can into our instruction. Our peer mentorship buddy program continues to grow in our string, chorus, and band areas. This year, over 60 students participated, and we're very grateful for our high school and younger students who were willing to sacrifice their time to learn. 25 new students were inducted into our Tri-M National Honor Society, and we had a record number in our chapter this year at 54. Our Tri-M members continue to give back to our school and community throughout the year. Some examples include designing and giving invitations to the Pops concert to our younger students in grades 2 through 8. Our families, students, and staff purchased genie lamps to help recognize the efforts and dedication of the middle school musical students in their production of Aladdin Jr. this school year. And over 30 student musicians have been performing regularly at the Next Chapter bookstore in downtown Fredonia. And Mrs. Troy, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was entirely student organized, wasn't it?
By Owen.
Owen Darrell Sturbeck, which is our absolute dream that we see our students taking on these initiatives on their own. So bravo to Owen and the students who participated. Other examples of community outreach, our students continue to share their talents everywhere we can take them. We had our band perform at the trunk or treat. We had volunteers perform at the Chautauqua Literacy Workshop. Perfect. The trunk or treat is always a fun event. I get as much candy as I can. It's harder now as I get taller. But our middle and high school chamber groups shared holiday music at the Next Chapter bookstore. 4th grade Hillbilly Harmonics sing throughout Western New York. Some locations included the Chautauqua Institution. At our PTO events, they sang at a Bison game and even more. And our high school students performed for a packed house at Fredonia Place. They ran out of seats. I've never seen such a big event for our crowd for one of these events we've done. It was really a wonderful thing to observe, and more. I always want to draw attention to our school instrument usage program. A few years back, the board and the district saw a growing need that we had a population that was becoming more needy. So to eliminate or minimize the economic burden of an instrumental music education, we started purchasing instruments to assist these families. And we have tracked this data over time. Just keep clicking, Kate. Thank you. So first year we did it, we had 20 students, then 38, then 47, then 58, then 63, 77, 99, and this year, 127 students. We are now 1 year away from finishing a cycle of instruments, where in theory, a student who started orchestra in 4th grade would have been able to finish a senior year. I'll just say this program also is something else I get a lot of questions about. We have become kind of the role model for schools in our area, and I got a call from Rochester, a wealthy school district that is seeing a changing demographic, and they are in need of new ideas. It was really nice to collaborate with them. My favorite thing is being able to talk to a family who says, none of us could ever play an instrument, we couldn't pay for it, and I can explain, well, for $20 a year, you can do that here. I've had tears, I've had excitement, I appreciate you helping these students and giving us an opportunity to make this dream come true for these families. It's almost breaking a generational cycle. And I'm just so happy that most of the students, we put an instrument in their hands, they do continue. So thank you so much. It has continued to stretch our storage and ensemble space, but we're going to talk about that in a second. This brings us to growing pains. Back in 2017, we started noticing numbers are getting higher. And I want to thank the administration back then, boards back then. We started doing what we could to accommodate, and this has only continued to be an issue. So our band and orchestra programs have grown significantly over the past 12 years. Two charts help to show how impressive this is. Our K through 12 enrollment has decreased by 583 students since 1999. Despite this, instrumental enrollments are higher than they were 25 years ago. Our rooms were not designed to accommodate this many students and instruments. This significant increase in enrollment has created many issues for consideration as we grow beyond our current facilities. This includes staffing, scheduling, ensemble rehearsal spaces, practice rooms, storage areas, and the auditorium. Many of our facilities are smaller than the square footage standards set by the National Association for Music Education and the New York State Education Department for school facilities. More information can be found in our full facilities report, which I have linked at the end of this. I'm good with words, I'm good with numbers. My colleagues help me realize, hey, pictures are nice. So I want to thank them for this idea. People come to our concerts, they see our wonderful students perform, but it's not very often we get to show them behind the scenes. So for years, as our orchestra program has grown significantly, we have far outpaced any storage solutions they have. So we worked with the administration to be creative. Some of the things we've done, cellos on walls. We've had parents donate instrument racks that fill the space. But even if you were to walk through the hallways, you'll notice we've had to put racks in the hallways because there's no room for the instruments in the rehearsal spaces. This has made evacuation drills somewhat exciting, but we're able to manage for now. What you see on the left is a practice room. We're going to talk about practice rooms in a little bit. We've had to turn practice rooms into instrument storage spaces because every cubby has been filled. Unfortunately, that takes away an instructional space, an opportunity for us to work with a student one-on-one, an opportunity to have a buddy student. It's become very limiting. And then you'll also see our chorus, which, as we're going to show in a few minutes, is doing great. All our ensembles are going to have some difficulty fitting in their rooms next year. This is our 6th through 8th grade band. When I came to do a presentation for you last year, I said this was the biggest band in Fredonia history, and next year they could have as many as 40 students more. So it's hard to picture that unless you're in the rehearsal space. I even will mention our poor percussionist. Michelle does a great job. They have to double up on instruments. Literally, they're standing behind each other because there's not enough stuff for them to play or room for them to rehearse. So, some specific occupancy concerns for next school year. After measuring our spaces and working with our facilities team, here are the maximum occupancies for each ensemble room per fire code and the projected largest ensemble. So our band room can hold 85 students in fire code. Next year's largest band is projected to be between 115 and 125 students. I should also point out that that ensemble will not fit on the stage unless we restructure. Our orchestra room can hold 64 students and meet fire code. We ran into this problem this year, which is why our high school orchestra has had to split, and it's a co-taught ensemble because they can't all fit in the same room. Next year's largest orchestra is projected between 74 and 84 students. Chorus room can hold 93 students. Next year's largest chorus is projected to be between 80 and 100 students. And I really want to thank Randy Penharlow for helping us get some of these numbers and helping us keep our students safe. So these are projected to be by far the largest orchestra and band in our history as a district and among the largest choruses. Beyond occupancy concerns, pedagogically, classes this large are very challenging to teach. I will say I filled in for my wonderful friend Mrs. Russ earlier this year. I'd like to think I'm a halfway mediocre teacher, and I found the experience humbling. Wonderful kids, but certainly I have areas to improve on. So thank you for being here. I do want to thank our administrative team who were working with us collaboratively. You know, obviously, even when we talk about building project, there's no way to build a building for next year. Right now, the plan we've been discussing with middle school administration and district office is increasing our part-time teacher to full-time, adding 3 new middle school ensembles, and then splitting up those ensembles that can't possibly fit. It's actually a structure similar to what the district had the last time they had 8 music teachers and enrollments this high. So we do have a plan tentatively for next year. But I will say most of these largest enrollments are in our youngest grades. So, for example, one of our 5th grade class is one of the smaller ones we've had here, 90-something students.
Our 8th graders right now are at 90.
Yep, but and the 5th grade class is around 90. We recruited almost all of them to play an instrument. We've never, biggest beginning band in our history was this year. I mean, it's wonderful. So I've kind of alluded to storage already, but as we consider facilities projects, we just want to bring to line more storage is needed for our musical instruments and sheet music. With the largest instrumental ensembles we've ever had, coupled with the largest inventory of instruments, we just cannot fit in the same space. Our only solutions at this point are to take away hallways or instructional space, and it's not sustainable. Perfect. This poses its own safety concerns. Yes. Practice rooms. This is interesting, and I want to thank some of the people at the BOCES forums for putting us in touch with these numbers. So practice rooms are where students can go after school for extra help. They're where we run our buddy program. They're also where some of our housing insecure students practice, and that is the only space. Dr. Ziliak talked about a student who's wonderful. One of our beginners, his mom works normal hours, and then as soon as he gets home, she drives for DoorDash. And this student, the only way he is able to succeed, and he's great, is he stays after school all the time and practices. And unfortunately, many days I don't have a place to send him. Even our buddy program, and Kate, feel free to keep clicking. Even our buddy program, we have more students that want to participate than we can ever accommodate. So at the forum, we learned about facility standards. Now NAFME has basic and what they call quality facility standards for schools. Their recommendations are lofty, but they recommend 1 practice room for every 40 enrolled ensemble students for a basic facility, and quality should have 1 for every 20. We currently have 1 practice room for every 174 enrolled ensemble students. So something to think about as we go through this. I mentioned our facilities report before. We made a very detailed facilities report last spring. It's available to the public at that QR code or at a wonderful tiny URL link. There it is, FCSD Music Facilities Report. So I'll share that out too. In conclusion, it goes without saying, but it's worth repeating, we are very proud of our students and grateful to our district and community. This is a wonderful place to live and work, and I'm just so grateful that we support music and that there's such a desire for it. We look forward to working together to meet the needs of our growing enrollments, and we continue to search for new and exciting experiences for our students and community. On a personal note, and I know you honored Mrs. Troutman at your last meeting, I do want to thank her and Jamie. The middle school schedule that they developed, it's wonderful. We used to have a schedule where if students needed academic services, they couldn't take an instrument, they couldn't sing in chorus. And I still remember you asking me at a former board meeting, have we created something wonderful that only our best and brightest can do? And I'm grateful that we have created a program that is available to everyone. So I really, really thank that. But I wouldn't be a music teacher worth my salt if I didn't try to sell you on some future events. So our all band concert is coming up, and this is a time change as of about 6 hours ago. We're moving it from 7 to 7:15 p.m. to accommodate 2 home basketball games that day. All-string concert 2 days later on February 8th at 6:30. At 6:30. Just close your eyes. Pretend that part's not there. The all-choral concert is a week later on February 13th. At
7 right now?
All right, great. And our high school musical is A Tale as Old as Time, not The Story of How I Met My Wife, Beauty and the Beast on March 8th, 9th, 15th, and 16th. You can always find information about our events on our website. We are on X and Twitter, and we are finally on Facebook. Thank you to our district clerk for helping us with that. We'll probably be on Instagram 10 years from now when I figure out how to make it work. Never TikTok. But thank you for the time. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Board have any questions? Mr. Bennett?
Thank you for your enthusiasm, expertise, and your whole team. It's a wonderful program. And I think, yeah. With a program like yours and all the other co-curriculars that we provide, the kids, draw kids to school. Because sometimes kids surprisingly don't want to come to school. So, thank you for everything that you do.
Well, thank you, Steve.
Agreed. Thank you all. Thank you all. Beautiful performances. Both performances too.
Wow. I wish there was an encore.
Me too.
I mean, I'll sing, but I don't know if you'll be as happy.
So I have a question to the facilities piece that you
Yes.
just explained and so forth. We had a architects group come through, referred to as the Blue Shirts. Had they met with you?
We have not met yet.
Okay, so you didn't meet when they had the survey conditions?
No, we look forward to the opportunity.
Okay, all right. And so is that something, Mr. Zeliak, that you can do, or have you forwarded this information on to them?
Yes, they have, because I think you were at the board workshop. So
Yes.
they have this presentation. I think the next round of conversations is amongst administration and our athletic director, and then there'll be another round of that more at the building level. So that's coming.
We're eagerly awaiting.
Okay. Thank you,
Goodbye.
as always.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Bennett, you've gone through a lot of the musical accomplishments of your whole program, and it's second to none, okay? I think that the whole board recognizes that. The one thing that I get impressed with, though, it's not the music. It's the way that the whole department has reached kids, and it appears that the students have a relationship with the music department. And with that relationship, I think that there's more than just a learning of music. So when you talk about this mentor program, where students are giving back, that's one of the life success skills that I think that you can't get much better in your music program. So how do you advance? You go outside of the music and you make a better citizen, a better community member. And how do you do that? You develop those relationships where they're better people. Those life success skills, you're really able to reach them and help develop that. The mentor program, I see too many students that were here tonight out in the community singing, playing their instruments at Christmas time, giving up their time, and drawing attention to the relationship that the community has with our music program. And if I asked you to, how do you step this up? It's not music. I'm sorry. You can't. How do you make better music students? And you've done it all. It's that life success skills.
I always look forward to your question, Brian. Every year. That's all my life I say.
I don't know if it was a question or a comment.
Well, fair. I look forward to your statements. And I'll lean on my colleagues too. There's always room for improvement. There's nothing in our lives any of us have done that we are absolutely a master at. The biggest struggles we have are how to help a different population. We have all these tools, but we're out of space. A gift that I have is that I will know my students from 5th grade to 12th grade. I will develop relationships with their families. I will check in with them after they graduate. I was very lucky to have music teachers that did that for me. And for me, this was my thing that saved me. I have no problem saying that. And if I can do that for one kid, if my colleagues can do that, then we've done our jobs. And I don't really, to be honest with you, care as much about the numbers and the awards and the medal color as I do about that I can send out the email for Christmas Festival. We do an annual piece where alumni come back and staff and anyone who is able to hold an instrument really, and they come. But, no, I'm not. I'm sorry, that's not. We are grateful for your talents. I didn't necessarily mean that for you. So much respect for Matt.
It's getting
But
worse.
what people don't see is the emails I get. Like, because at this point, I mean, I send out almost 1,000 of them, and every year I get updates. Hey, I'm a teacher now. I'm so grateful that I was able to see you. Hey, I'm doing this in my community. As for what we can do more, I mean, I just wish we could do more with the mentor program. I just can't see any way to expand it beyond what we do. I mean, what would you guys say? You're smarter than me.
Well, space is our biggest
Yeah.
barrier. Because resources, yeah, because this year, for example, we have these 9th and 10th graders who are so wonderful. And one of the amazing things we see are the upperclassmen encourage them, you should do the buddy program. You should you should do this. And I think they're 2 lessons in now for 5th and 6th grade orchestra. And like the kids are so proud. And the relationships and the interactions that they have with students who are just a few years older than them is sometimes worlds more meaningful than anything that we do in the classroom, as much as we'd like to think that, but it makes a huge difference. And so for us right now, I think, honestly, the biggest hurdle is allowing our students to have these opportunities in space, limited space we have.
And I would say that we have a huge blessing of being within the main campus, so if I reach out to Kristen or Ryan or Michelle or Andy, and I say, hey, can I bring some elementary school kids up? Can they come watch a rehearsal? Can they come do this? Can they come do that? They are so readily available, and their students are so willing to have those littles come on up and be a part of it. We've had a lot of opportunities to do that, especially with our choruses and being able to be a part of the all-choral concert and watching those kids grow and shine. And I think that's another big blessing, is that we are one big main campus. We try to pull up Wheelock as much as we can. I'd like to do it more often, but the nice thing is that we have that capability to just walk down the hallway and bring them down and say, hey, how about we go check this out? Especially if there's students that aren't necessarily having the best of days, and we know that music is the way that moves them. So let's get them out of the room, let's get them down the hallway, let's have them listen to what we have and what we're cultivating here, and it allows that sense of community to build, which brings us all closer together.
Thank you.
Thank you. The whole department, thank you. Well, I guess we've got to get down to some business here, now that we've had some fun. So we have the minutes from the special meeting of January 12th. If I could have a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Ms. Hahn and Mr. Johnston. Any questions on that? If not, all those in favor should signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the minutes from the regular meeting of January 16th as submitted. If I could have a motion to approve those. So moved. Mr. Marshall, in a second.
Second.
Ms. Gomes, you go. Any questions on those? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Next, we have the approval of minutes from the audit meeting as of January 16th, and those were updated, Mr. Forbes? Okay. Thank you. If I could have a motion to accept those, please.
So moved.
Ms. Gallo, and a second.
Second.
Ms. Paul Fortner. Any questions on those? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the financial treasurer's report and the building conditions survey revised fee for the additional services of the scan, the audit, and the structural review. We discussed these at the meeting last week, but I don't know if we didn't realize we needed a motion on this, but I will ask for a motion to approve tonight, please. Ms. Gallo, and a second.
Second.
Mr. Marshall. Mr. Ziliak, any comment beyond what we did last week?
No, really, the next resolution will.
Why don't we go over that all together then? And then we'll at least have addressed it and we can bring it to the floor and approve it.
So when we were talking with Young and Wright, who is our architect, and kind of helping us work through the building condition survey into a potential capital project, there was a couple things. They said, we're gonna need to do some work to better understand some of these aspects and then help us put a dollar amount onto what are some unknowns here. One of them was the roof scans, both here and at the main campus, probably the largest variable in all this. So this will help us get a handle on what work actually needs to happen now, what work might need to happen in a couple years, and what work might need to happen a few years beyond that. Same thing with playground audit, same thing with the structural reviews. Were some areas that there was some cracking and some things that looked like they might be of concern. The fourth thing involved in that, although it wasn't ready for last board meeting, was a topographical site survey of both our field locations. Initially, they gave us quotes for the entire main campus, then the entire Wheelock campus. But we really feel like at this moment, we just need that done back to our athletic fields and also to what we do. So that will help us understand some things again. That will help us figure out exactly what needs to be done and what the complications might be. So those are the information that we're seeking to help us make decisions. As I mentioned at our last meeting, our cap on the building condition survey, which all of these would be a part of, to continue to get aid is right around $130,000. And I believe with this work, we're right at the $110,000 mark currently. And as I mentioned last time, they're telling me that there's not a whole lot else that's going to need to be done. So that little buffer should be good. We should be able to get the aid back on the work that's being done.
Question was the topo that we got from
Say it again.
the topographical view. What's our existing one that we have now? When was that done?
We've been done for the year of the field project, where we put the walkway in, was 2019-ish.
And that was for the whole campus, or?
Yeah, because they did some of the site drainage too, and they've got that, the owner's got all of our documents, all of our.
So what's changed that we're taking the cost into effect?
Well, I think their intent is to see if they need to address any additional drainage, going back to what was done in the last project. And my understanding was that their feeling was they needed to be able to look at the lay of the land basically to determine whether that would be the case or not.
Okay. And so this wasn't, as you said, part of our last board packet, and this time it is, and it's with backup information. Are we following policy and procedure in the purchase order piece? So with the information we've got now, we're good to move forward?
Yeah, this is professional service, so it doesn't follow the same guidelines.
You mentioned that we have some additional meetings coming up with the architects, administration, meeting with the music department. Will those be additional fees, or those are included in kind of the consultative?
Yeah, they're included in the architect fees for just the project. So all that was factored into
Right. So we can have more
the
meetings.
survey. Sure. Yeah.
So one question came to mind, hearing the presentation this evening, do we have an annual fire inspection or a fire marshal that comes through?
Do you want to speak to that, Mr. Forbes?
Yes, it's required under state regulations each year, the month that they come moves up a month, so that you get in different times of the year to see different things that happen in the building. So they're actually coming in February, I believe.
Okay, that's for this school year.
Yes.
Okay. So we don't have the report we had last year's.
We had last year's, last one. It's either February or March, I'm pretty sure it's February.
Okay. And so I guess to that, the piece that I heard storage is being used in the boys and girls locker room by a student last meeting, and then kind of seeing the pictures with congested hallways and such. Have they addressed any of that in the past, or do we kind of tidy up before the inspection and then put things back?
No, I mean, there's different comments that are made every year about lots of different things, and some are, paper on the wall kind of things, because it happens to be Christmas time or whatever, but
Sure.
There's different levels of violations. So when they come and do the report, we go through and send information out to each building principal on things that are in their area, things that are in the maintenance custodial area. We talk about that and then try to address as best we can.
Okay. So in February, when they come, would you be able to forward that to the facilities committee?
Sure.
Because I've never seen one. I've heard of it, but I've never seen one.
Yeah, we actually have, it's not one report, it actually ends up being about 8, because they do, like, the press box is one, the concession stand is one, the maintenance garage is one, and so on and so forth. So we end up with about 8 or 9 different ones, but each one has coding for things that are violations, whether they're significant or insignificant, and then we have to file that with the state.
Right. I remember there being a time when I was active with the stage group, and there was a concern about the wood supply and such.
Right.
So, okay.
Any other questions?
Just a quick, Dr. Ziliak's, the roof scan, did they give you a timeline on that? Once we approve that, when they can get in and do it and complete it?
Yeah, so this, we talked about this at the last meeting, so there's equipment that's used if it's during the winter, whether it be moisture or ice or snow, and then there's other equipment that's not. We felt we needed to understand this sooner than later, so that price reflects the equipment that they can use now. They were just waiting on this approval, number one, and I thought we were going to be like in the next month that they'd be out to at least begin the work.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
So we're still looking at 6A. All those in favor of the revised fee of $32,700 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Great. We're going to bring the topographical site survey to the floor. We've already had discussions on that, but if I could bring that to the floor, please.
So moved.
Ms. Gallo, and a second.
Second.
Ms. Powell-Friedman. Any questions on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Next, we have the mileage reimbursement rate from, well, I guess it's not from, but to the 66.9 cents per mile effective January 1st. If I could have a motion to bring that to the floor, please.
So moved.
Mr. Johnston, and a second.
Second.
Mr. Marshall. Mr. Ziliak, quickly.
Yeah, usually an annual appointment about this time, and those rates are set, and we respond and get in line with what that number has been adjusted to. So,
And that is 1/10 of a cent below the IRS allowance rate. Correct?
that's correct.
Any questions on that?
Is there a reason we're 1/10 below? Just curiosity.
Policy?
Is there a reason we're below the GSA?
Yeah, if you pay the IRS rate, then it becomes a taxable situation. If you pay a 10% below, then it does not.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Which takes us to
That's confusing, 8 is old business.
Yes.
so let me,
Did we ever do consent?
We did, but now I'm looking at it.
I'm going to have Mr. Ziliak discuss that in the superintendent. So if you would just discuss old business. Okay? Because that was explained in the backup, that's all. And it maybe is a little confusing, but, excuse me?
It's off here, which is what made it a little bit even more confusing, the numbering of
New
the.
business is number 8 in consent, but it's 9 on our agenda. That would be a typographical error.
Yeah, you know.
Oh,
Okay.
So this is kind of a unique scenario. So on our agendas, we haven't had old business in a while. In other districts I've been, it's there occasionally. It's not unusual. But this was the path that was recommended through labor relations and also through civil service to resolve this. So we had an issue about a year ago where we appointed a civil service position and gave the impression that that person would be earning tenure, although in a civil service position you don't earn tenure. And in the review, and why this came up at this point, I'm not really sure, but in their review of their records, civil service reached out to us and said, this needs to get resolved, and this would provide a more accurate depiction of what has happened and the actual reality of where things stand right now, where the employee is a permanent employee, but would not have gained tenure. So this corrects the issue from the past that, to be honest, we didn't know was an issue until recently. I think that's about the most simplistic summary I can provide at this point.
So the motion of over a year ago, correct me if I'm wrong, had the word tenure in that motion. Civil service didn't like that word for this position, so we're removing that.
Correct.
We're revising it, approving it as of over a year ago. Okay? Okay, so before you get into your superintendents, we've reserved this time to hear comments from the audience on any issue, not just related to our agenda. If there's anyone who would like to address the board, we have an open microphone. Is there anyone who would like to address the board?
I'd like to address the board. Would you like me to stand?
Sure. Name and address.
Darren Paschke, 4 Nance Terrace, Fredonia. I just wanted to address the board tonight on a couple of issues. Mr. Bennett brought up, the number of students that have required more instruments. That since the pandemic year, the 2019 year, that's about doubled. I want to point out that that's also the case with students with 504s. In the pandemic, the original year of the pandemic, we had 17 students that had a 504 to help with additional needs, like with testing and classroom situations, and now we have almost triple.
And a 504 is?
504 is a document that gives kids accommodations to help them. Like, for example, if they have anxiety, they might be able to take breaks during the classroom, or they can take a test in a more reduced stress environment. Okay. I see once again that we posted for a .6 social worker this week, and I find it disappointing. We need to be putting our money on a full-time social worker. It's needed in the high school, it's needed in the middle school. I don't understand why it's continued to be a .6. We talked about, well, we need to cut something, find it. I'm just really disappointed that this has happened again. I don't think we're finding anyone for .6, so continuing to offer a .6 doesn't make sense. We need this for our kids. Nearly 20% of our middle school is at 10% absenteeism. 28% of our high school students are missing more than 10% of the school days. We need people to help our kids, and I want the board to take it seriously. The other concern that I have is about our nurses. We have had 2 instances recently where we don't have a nurse in our building, and I've had sick kids in my office in the morning with no place to go. We've had kids who need to get their meds in the afternoon and don't get them. We're not paying our nurses. I know I can't blame you. I know that we're trying, okay? But we need to come up with a solution. So it's just something that needs to happen. Our kids aren't safe. I don't get up and speak at board meetings very often. I think I've done it once before in 30 years. But I'm incensed, not at you, okay? I'm not incensed at our board. I'm just incensed at the situation that we're in. I think that we need to do a better job, whatever that is. I don't have an answer for it, but I just want to make sure that it's out there and that we're addressing it the best that we can, okay? I'm not pointing a finger at anybody on the board. I don't think it's a board problem, okay? But I think that there's a solution out there, and we can't keep waiting. So just the urgency that I just hope that the board goes forth with, and we're here to work together as an administrative team on this. I'm not putting all on the board. I'm not saying, hey, please do something about this. Let's work together and figure this out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Zoyax, your superintendent's report, please.
Yeah, I wanted to welcome Lacey Drennan here as our student rep. This is a little moment for Fredonia, as to my knowledge, we've never had a student representative on the Board of Education before, and that came forward a couple years ago, but we finally made it happen here recently. So welcome aboard. It's good to have you here, and we appreciate you being interested in being part of what's happening in the district. So thank you and welcome. We're also sending a notification to parents and families regarding the Sandy Hook Promise anonymous reporting system. We probably brought this up at a board meeting a year or so ago, and then intermittently there's been updates, but this is a system that's free of charge to school districts in which a student or an adult could anonymously report information to the district that would be of concern on several levels. And then there is a group of people that works for Sandy Hook Promise. That's a team of individuals that helps us process whatever might be reported, from the seriousness of it to the next steps to how we can best work together to make sure we're all in a good place. So the reason I'm sending a notification about this is because on Friday, our 7 through 12 students will be trained in how this works and how they could submit a tip should they come across something or see something that would be of concern, so they can say something. And like it or not, occasionally there are students and maybe even adults that feel uncomfortable going directly to an adult and having that conversation or going to an office. So this gives them another outlet. So, this is another step and piece of school safety and just trying to keep everyone as safe as possible and giving us the information that we need. So that is going to happen on Friday, and then that system will be up and running should there be anything that needs to be reported. Also, as Mrs. Fortner mentioned, we have a couple things upcoming with the capital project a week from tonight. Well, first of all, we sent out a survey yesterday starting to gather information from people just about what they believe might need to be done or what they would like to see us focus on. A week from tonight, we will have a public forum, and somebody asked me a great question today, is the survey really the same thing as the public forum? If I submit something in the survey, should I come to the public forum? And really, this is just our effort to have a way for people to submit their thoughts, either from their own home or wherever they might be, but also an opportunity to come in person. So everyone is welcome, but really, that's gathering the same information. The public forum will probably start with a brief overview of things that we've talked about before and kind of where we are currently in the process. But basically, we'll be looking to gather the same information, at least in the moment that is on the survey right now. And then the following Tuesday, we have another Board of Ed workshop with our architect, Young and Wright, to take some of that information we got from the survey and the public forum and have further discussions about how we best move forward. So that is happening.
Dr. Zoliax, do
Yep.
we have any status on how many surveys have been returned so far? And
Almost
how?
120.
120?
Well, not quite, but we're pushing it.
Thank you.
So in 24 hours, pretty good. That's a pretty good response. Yep.
So I have a question on the survey. So it was sent out to all Fredonia. What does that encompass, all Fredonia? Like teachers, students, parents?
Yeah,
It was actually sent out in multiple aspects. There is All Fredonia, which is Fredonia staff, teachers, staff, etc. The board also, I believe, gets into that mix as well as board members. We also reached out via direct email, SMS notification, and social media to make sure that we could get a hold of all of our students' parents and all of their other emergency contacts. Social media right now is about our best way to get a hold of our community stakeholders, maybe people who are taxpayers but don't have a student in the district or maybe don't have a family member who's employed by the district. And then today, our high school students, grades 9 through 12, also received an email with an invitation to that survey because we certainly want to hear it from the student level as well. So that's how everything's being handled at the moment. This is only survey number 1. Obviously, there will be more of those in the public forum as well for maybe those who don't want to answer the survey and would rather come in public and let their choices be heard. So.
Good. So it's reaching the entire district.
We are trying. We're doing our best, yes.
Good.
Is there any planned walk through the building to see the facilities made public?
We haven't talked about that. That's something we could consider. I don't remember that coming up previously, but sounds like a reasonable idea.
And I guess, I don't know when's a good enough time to bring this up, but I just want to kind of ask for some updates about things that have been brought up in our board meetings, like to the young student that came up last meeting to ask about the boys and girls locker room. Has that been rectified?
Yeah, so what we did, and I don't know why we didn't think about this previously, is that the pool locker rooms were redone within the last few years and aren't being utilized after school right now at all. And it's really just a few steps further to the gym. So we just invited those teams to use both the girls and boys pool locker room that are in much better condition than the one across from the gym, and our fully operational showers, all that.
So does he have a concern, a legit concern, or was there an alternative? Is that what you're saying to me? There was an alternative?
Yeah, so I think his concern was legit, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know why we didn't think about just moving them to another locker room previously.
Okay, all right. Because it sounded like it wasn't just recently, it's been in the past too.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, I guess Mr. Paschke beat me to it. I was going to ask for an update on the social worker because that was brought up in public meeting. What is the update? What can you offer us?
Yeah, well, I think our conversation previously was that the request initially was a .6 for a social worker. We thought we had it filled through the Northern Chautauqua County agency. In fact, they would have been able to give us a 1.0 for the same price. That did not work out ultimately, although it seemed like we were right on the doorstep of making that happen. Since then, we haven't been able to fill the position. I think it's accurate that partially because it's a .6. And that's, if somebody has a full-time job right now, they're probably not going to come to Fredonia for a .6.
So I guess just to follow up on that question, because I missed the meeting when it was part of the discussion from the board, but I guess July 29th, I asked the question and the response was given to me that with the additional $300,000 that we received beyond the district tax levy and the budget at the time of the vote, we were adding the .6 along with some other positions. So are we in dire straits financially to where we cannot afford to go that .4 more to offer this to our school student body? You know, kind of disappointing that we're talking about this really in earnest now, I guess, because we're halfway through the school year.
Sure.
And you know, this is something that was brought up in the beginning of the summer, in the middle of the summer, you know, as an option. And, you know, to the DSIP piece about how the effect to kids missing school relates to their learning process. And, you know, if a kid is needing some additional help emotionally, I think how important that is, that if they're physically here but mentally need a little, you know, additional support. And, you know, I guess I just asked the question, are we in dire straits to where we can't afford that? You know, 1 point.
So at the time, the discussion was this, and this is just part of difficult choices. And I get the counter argument to almost anything that comes up in the school district. I can see the other side of it. So we talked about, is the difference between a .4 and a 1 point, or 0.6 and a 1.0 that great in itself? No, it's not. However, we factored in, and I factored in, and I'm willing to take accountability and responsibility for this, the positions that we have in the ARP money right now, which total about $600,000. And how are we going to be able to maintain those positions, which I think we potentially can, but at some point there's a breaking point. So in my mind, could I in good conscience bring a person on as a 1 point, as a 1.0 position, knowing that there's several other positions that I'm not 100% sure that we can maintain? Is there an argument to be made that we could use additional counseling support in the district? Absolutely. Is there argument to be made that we have social workers, school psychologists, for that matter, administration? Could we use more administrative help in the district? We could. Could we use writing coaches, reading coaches, math coaches? Absolutely. Could we use an additional school safety officer? I think there's an argument to be made there. So there's all these things that come up in moments when we're talking about budgeting, we're talking about finances, we're talking about things that would be really helpful to the district. And at the end of the day, I'm just trying to do the best I can, working with the business office to make sure that we don't overextend ourselves and end up in a situation where someone maybe left a job to come here that no longer exists, or we're reducing positions because we didn't have the forethought to not go for the easy fix.
So to your point, I really appreciate, you know, you've pointed out all those other things, but we're specifically talking about the social worker, and I want to kind of stay on that. Because I'm looking for the fact that basic, simple question, and I understand all the points that you made. You know, can you say that you do make a recommendation or don't make a recommendation or don't in regards to getting a social worker for the high school? Because right now they're sharing, if I'm not mistaken,
Correct.
with the middle school. And so they've got a .6 at the middle school, correct? And a .4 at the high school level.
Right.
So, you know, to that, I think there's been a lot of exposure to what it is that kids need.
Mhm.
So at some point, will you be making a recommendation to whether or not you'll be going to a 1-0 or not?
Yeah, in the meeting that you were not here, I was clear, I was not supporting adding any staff at this point. Ms. Howard?
I just would like to better understand our role as a board in that, because I understand that we defer and that you said when we publicly discussed this issue at the meeting, that you wanted to defer to Dr. Ziliak's, but as another board member, I disagree. I hear the desperation in one of our administrators, and I see the agreement in all of our other administrators with him. And we have come out of COVID, and we're in a mental health crisis. And we're hearing that we're in an absenteeism crisis. And we do not have the mental health support we need. And I just don't understand because we hired all these other people using the ARP money, now we're not going to do the one thing we actually need to do that the ARP money was meant for, which is address the mental health of our students. And by the way, for the .6 position, without getting too into the nitty-gritty, I think we did have some qualified people, but the credentials have to be so specific that they are eliminated even though they have equivalent mental health credentials. So are we trying to fill the position or not? If we are, why don't we adjust the requirements for the position? And if we're not, why don't we make it a 1.0 position? I just don't see why this is the hill we're gonna die on. 0.4, the equivalent of about, what, $20,000. This is the stand we're gonna make? I just want to voice my disagreement with that.
I would second that. I think I appreciate the position that we have hired people to meet needs. They were hired at a point in time to meet a need that was identified at that point in time. Needs change. We have to reevaluate, and make decisions based on the needs that we have right now. It's not a comfortable thing to do. I appreciate that. It's not ideal, but our responsibility is to our students and meeting the most pressing needs that we have right now. I would second the evaluation of that.
Yeah, I mean, Sheila really well said, and obviously I don't think you disagree with any of this. I don't, but at the same time, it has to be said that I mean, we hear you, we see it in your face, and what happens if we don't address this? Where are we in a year, in 2 years? So I am concerned as well. I guess we have to go look again, and I also wonder too, what is our role in making that decision?
Well, I mean, you know, by the nature of the arrangement of the board and the superintendent, I serve the Board of Education. And this isn't the first time we've disagreed over certain things. Sometimes we've got to a different place through just discussion, and sometimes there's been more of a directive for the district to take action. I don't have any ill will or any concerns about that. I understand there's different perspectives and different thoughts about how we best move forward, and I'm here to serve the board.
Could you and John work together to, obviously you didn't come to the decision,
randomly. So you've got data in front of you that you're concerned about moving forward. We're looking at a healthy amount of salary and benefits. Can you provide that to us so we can see where your concern comes from?
Sure.
That might help. We might look at that and say, we agree.
Agreed.
Because if I'm not mistaken, John, I believe you mentioned before, this is, well, we're extending ourselves well over $500,000, like annually? Is that not?
Well, you've gone essentially from a fund balance of 11-ish percent to a fund balance around 3% in 2 years. And if that tracks again, you're gonna have no fund balance at the end of this current year. If you were to say today, shut it down, run the numbers, where are we at? We're probably holding right in that 3, maybe up just a touch because of the interest revenue that we're in. So we're not like gonna be, at this point, $400,000 or $500,000 back to the good. You're going right across. Since 2018-19, you've started at about 158 teaching staff, and you're currently at about 172. All of that is not ARP funded. About half of that is ARP funded. So when you take a look across the board at the different areas that you've added services, you've had necessary special education. We added teachers during COVID for elementary, reduced class sizes, which are still there. We have looked at different levels of social workers and psychologists. And so at the end of the day, financially, it's great to say, just add that 0.4, but the 0.4 doesn't add just $15,000 of salary. Let's say a typical experienced person comes in at 1.0, they're $60,000. At 0.6, they're $40,000. A $40,000 0.6 generally is not going to take health insurance, and you're also saving Social Security. So you add a full-time person at 60, they take family insurance, that's another 29, 28, plus the additional flight. You're looking at a difference of 40,000, maybe 50,000, depending on who you hire, simply by going from a 0.6 to the 1.0. So there's those kind of factors that aren't treated in there. The other part is, as Dr. Zilek mentioned, you have a number of staff that somehow, if we decide to maintain it, and this was the problem going back at the beginning of the ARP funds, we need these positions, we got those positions. How many of those positions then would you have said, I think we'll be okay once we get through this, that now you can't say because one, you need them for obvious reasons, or two, you've gotten used to having that flexibility in your building. So now you've got that. And it's not just Fredonia. I was at a meeting yesterday in multiple districts in the local area where there was a health insurance meeting. We're talking about the health insurance rates, and there were a number that were saying we've got to go lower than we thought we needed to maintain the fund of that, because we're all facing this financial wall from what was happening with ARP. So it's a little bit unique for me that I hear my fellow administrators what they say, but I have to look at it from the other side. And we seem to continue to need staffing for a variety of reasons. We continue to need aides for a variety of reasons, but each one of those is not going away, and each one of those somehow we have to pay for it. And it's not as simple as saying, well, we'll just cut something else. Show me something that's $50,000 in the budget that's clearly cuttable, because you don't have a lot of materials and supplies that you can get rid of. You don't have electricity you can get rid of. You don't have transportation you can get rid of. And you go through the whole line item of the budget, and there's just not those things in there. So then that becomes the challenge of how you pay for it.
And I definitely hear that, right? And when we talk about staffing, I think it's a very uncomfortable situation, but it will become a choice that we have to make. And is this social worker a higher priority than some of those other positions? We have to be financially responsible. We can't just continue to add indefinitely. But that 20 plus positions that we're saying is a differential from pre-COVID, something in that ballpark. Do we have to go back and make some difficult decisions? Have the needs changed in 3 or 4 years that we need to evaluate and not just say add? I mean, I think that's what we would have to say as a board, right?
See, the way, I guess I see, we're not in September, October, and, you know, our next budget cycle is coming up. And so we need to put all this into the mix and see what's, you know, categorize what's top priority, next priority, all the way down. Like athletic trainer, you know, we wanted to jump that in the middle of the year. So we need to look at all these things and see what can we keep. My concern is if we hire a 1.0 right now, can we promise that 1.0 next year to that person? Is that person a definite in compared to all the other things? Because we have, what, nine positions in the APPR that are up, and I don't know, I just feel like we need to get into the budget and work out what we need.
I disagree.
Well, to the budget, Steve, that's why I brought up the point that we did talk about this with $300,000 as additional funds that were given to the school district after the budget vote. The state awarded, once they finalized their budget, an extra $300,000 to the school district. So, and we had discussions about where exactly that money was going, and I asked the question, do you guarantee this? And your answer was yes. Well, here we are without the .6. We're, I don't know if all the other things were completed, but, as a business owner.
Guaranteed what?
That we would be allocating that money towards those things that you were speaking of, because you had an itemized list. And, I'll resend you the July 2019.
No, I'm not doubting you, Tom, and I'm not
I know, a lot of water's
questioning
went
the
under the
accuracy
bridge.
of what you're saying.
But,
And I think we did allocate those.
the .6 was in there. I just looked at it.
Correct. And that at the time, that was the request from the building, was for a .6.
So
we put it in, and we allocated the money.
okay, so what I'm hearing is that the high school asked for .6.
Correct.
Okay. So,
Now,
back to the
we
budget
didn't
piece.
necessarily foresee, and like I said, I put time and energy into working with that agency. We had somebody ready to sign. This was on I don't know, Mr. Paschke, when you guys have your open house, I don't know when that is that like the day before school?
Yeah, end of August.
But the person was supposed to come and meet with me during that open house. So,
And that fell apart when?
the beginning of the school year.
Okay, so here we are a few months later and no movement. That's the hardship that I see that our kids are facing. But, to the budget piece, I wonder, because I keep asking this, and BOCES is always supposed to support school districts in the criteria that if they can't afford it, we'll supply it. And then, we receive 70 cents on the dollar in aid. So I guess, where is that at? Is that what type of discussion? Because I can't imagine we're the only school district,
In terms of social workers or psychologists?
social worker
Yeah.
or any of that support.
That's typically our first avenue, and with a number of even just special education teachers or different service providers, they do not have the people to allocate.
Can I ask a question to Sheila, because you said something about
There were
qualified.
people very interested in the position with slightly varying credentials from the very strict credential that was required, which again, maybe that's very nitty gritty, but I'm not really understanding why they needed very specific credentials, if they had credentials that were basically the equivalent. Why are the duties of this job so specific that you need an exact
The only thing I'm
credential?
aware of, and I'm not sure exactly what we're talking about, is I'm aware of somebody who had an out-of-state certification, not from New York State. So in those situations, we put them in touch with the BOCES certification officer. And a lot of times, there's not a whole lot that needs to happen to get certified in New York State. Other times, it's a production. But I don't have the ability to hire uncertified people at this moment.
I mean, he mentioned, we all have to look for outside the box solutions. I know in New York publics, or like inner city schools, they give exemptions all the time to certifications, and because they simply can't get anybody in some of these inner city schools. Can we look into that further, if there is somebody that is slightly not qualified, that New York would give us an exemption?
Like, for example, one of the considerations would be, would our insurance carrier cover a person operating, now we're talking about somebody in a mental health role, who technically doesn't have the certification that they would want them to have. And I'm not arguing
No, but I just
the
wonder,
qualifications of the person. Yeah.
Have we investigated that to make sure that we have
I mean, our
gone
feeling
down
was,
every alley to make sure that it's a no?
and our feeling was, and Dr. Wright worked on this more than I did, that we'd be putting the district in a liable situation if we were to do that.
Okay, well,
What alternatives do we have? I mean, as far as, you know, what I hear from our high school administrator, Mr. Paschke, and with your knowledge of this, you know, I guess, what alternatives do you offer us as a board to look at for, you know, helping our students?
Dr. Zolax and I have spoken, and Margie, we spoke about the possibility of looking at the way we do our WAVE program. WAVE is a BOCES program that we're having more students that are struggling with anxiety and really just can't even come into the building. And so what they're doing is they're taking classes online for this BOCES WAVE program to the tune of $11,000 a kid. All right, we have 7 students in that program, so we're talking about $77,000 there that we're paying BOCES to do that. Could we bring the Edgenuity program, which is what we use for our summer school here and monitor it with our own staff? Is that a possibility? Could we have some savings there? If we have a full-time social worker, could we maybe preempt some of the need for some of these things? For example, we have a lot of students participating in the alternate education program at Maple Avenue. That's $25,500 a student per year. That's a lot of money. Yeah, we get aid back on that, but I think those are areas that I'm hopeful, and can I prove it, that we're definitely going to reduce those numbers over time? I can't, but I feel like we would if we could be a little bit proactive in having someone that can go and do those home visits and can work with them on some of the strategies that they need to cope with their anxiety, where right now we don't have that.
So you say that's an alternative?
That's an alternative. I mean, we haven't settled it. We don't know exactly what the cost would be. There are pieces to it, but just, you know, I think that we've been working together a little bit to think outside the box that way, just to save some money for the district. Not that we were saying, hey, let's do this so that we would have money to get a social worker. That wasn't the impetus of it. It was just that, hey, I think we could manage this here, and we would have our own kids, and keeping our kids in our building is what I would rather do than sending them somewhere else. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I was not on the WAVE program wavelength right now, so thank you.
So I guess I would ask that you look into those alternatives and possibly speak about that in some type of superintendent's report.
Sure.
And I think similar to Mr. Marshall's request, what are these 9 positions? How would we rank them priority going forward versus when they came in? You know, do we have to make some trade-offs?
And maybe one other thing is just that idea that how much money would we save by saving some of these kids before things get worse?
Okay. So to address some of the issues here, Ms. Hahn, when you ask what is our role is to oversee the superintendent, to make sure that they're doing their job. It's my opinion, personally, that we have a superintendent, we have an administrative council of the leaders of this district who are tasked with coming up with ideas, try to come up with solutions to problems. I don't believe, again, personal opinion, that it is the board's responsibility to come up with solutions. Can we ask questions about a certain thing? Yes. But I think that it's the superintendent, it's the administrative council coming together that are trained in educating our students and leading our district, that come up with recommendation to the board. We don't know the nuances. We hear maybe rumors. We hear that maybe this person is qualified, but we don't know the details. We don't know if that's the actual issue that's involved with that interview. We don't know. We're not involved in that. Mr. Ziliak says. And we have to give some kind of trust in that leadership, in his abilities, in his training, in his education, and his experience as a superintendent to bring us alternatives, to prioritize positions, to prioritize the spending of our funds. Again, Mr. Johnson brought up the fact that we were questioning whether we should have an athletic trainer. And I think that all these things are great suggestions, and they are needs of this district, but we don't have an unlimited amount of funds to support all these needs. So it's up to our superintendent, it's up to our administrative council to come together and help prioritize these things. And then we hold, again, my opinion, the board holds the superintendent responsible for prioritizing that. But I don't think that we can just hear one side of the story and then automatically with a knee-jerk say, we need to spend money here. My opinion. That's where I see the difference between the board and what our role is and what Mr. Ziliak is here as a superintendent.
I appreciate your words, and I do agree about a specific hire and all of that, which didn't feel quite right. But I do also think our role is maybe a little more than what you're saying, just in terms of in the current situation, post-COVID world, mental health crisis, the students are our priority, and as a board member and as a board, I feel student-focused. What do the students need? And I'll go to bat for that.
I think that you share a priority with our students as every one of our board members do. How we do that may be different, and I respect your view. I really respect your view. I respect everyone else's position, because I think that there isn't one person on this board who doesn't serve this board for our students.
Agreed.
There isn't one. We are all here for the same thing. How we do that and our values to get there, that may be different, but I respect you for that.
So I think this conversation took a little serious note. You know, I had it written on my questions for Brad before Aaron Paschke got up and spoke, and I think that's what gave it its level of concern. Because this is something that we've talked about for over 6 months, especially since we knew we had monies allocated. So this is nothing new, and I didn't tell you what to do. I just kind of asked for an update, and I'm finding out a lot of information here. But I'm mostly concerned, as all my fellow board members are, and all the other people in this room, with yourself included, that kids missing school and kids having anxiety. The anxiety, I think, is just as difficult as not being present at all, even if they're physically, if they're having anxiety. So I just want to let you know that it's of utmost importance that there's some direction to, if we can't do one, what is our other options?
So if I could with the board, and I appreciate the conversation tonight, I truly appreciate it. But I'm going to ask, because we instituted here 2 months ago a piece within our board meeting, discussion points. So I'm asking that if a member of the board has an issue that they would like to discuss, if you could let us know prior to the board meeting, so that we come prepared, so that we have some facts. And if you have a specific question on an individual with specific qualifications that didn't fit, if we can know about that, so that we can address that. Maybe not, it's a personnel issue, so we can't get real specific, but it helps to have a little bit of prior knowledge of what we're going to be discussing, so that Dr. Ziliaks can prepare for that he's not coming in cold. That's all I'll say with that. I'm assuming that you're done with your superintendent's report?
I think that'll wrap it up.
Okay, so if I could, to move this along a little bit, as far as announcements and board correspondence, Lacey, I welcome you here. This is something that we discussed, I'm going to say over 2 years ago, and it's taken, it's a process, and we got this taken care of with it was voted on at the budget vote this past May. So, welcome. We're expecting great things from you. So, I appreciate you being here.
We hope you'll be back.
Yes. Yes. I will also invite the board, there was an announcement put out for the teachers in service this coming Monday, January 29th, 8 o'clock on Monday. Part of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We will, which I consider, what I consider is a bedrock of anyone's personal library. There will be a professional from the, what is it? I didn't write it down. It's the, excuse me?
Franklin Covey?
Franklin Covey, thank you, Franklin Covey. And I didn't write that down, but I knew it was part of the Covey group. Will be coming in to give the in-service, and it's professional learning for us. That's part 1. Part 2 will be April 8th, but if there is a board member who would like to participate or attend in that, please let Kate know so that we can get all the materials ordered. I believe it's just individual packets that are being ordered.
I believe so, I have to double check with Dr. Wright.
I talked to Dr. Wright, but she wanted to know if, specifically if somebody was, so they could have the packet ready. But please, that's next Monday. I think that this is, I'm all in. I think that 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is a tremendous book, and I look forward to that in-service. Other than that, we have another regular meeting of our board, February 13th. That's 3 weeks. Not 2 weeks. That's 3 weeks. Is that right? 3 weeks. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, we got a lot of work. Yeah, we do. We've got a lot of work in between there, but yes. That will be right here in the high school library. We're starting with you, Mr. Johnson. Any comments?
Yeah, fantastic retirement accolades tonight. Congratulations to all 3 of them. Music department knocked it out of the park once again. I know you thought we were going to be out of here an hour ago. No, it doesn't work that way. Thank you, Dr. Ziliaks. Thank you, Mr. Paschke. Thank you, administration team. You all put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, time, and energy. I thank you for what you do. And there's always going to be issues. We've got to work through them together collaboratively. And thank you, board members. Great discourse tonight. Notice I used the word discourse, not to be. And Lacey, we do like each other. Okay, and welcome.
Ms. Gallo.
Thank you for bringing this to our attention again, and we take it to heart, and we appreciate the honesty. Thank you to the music people. We hear you, and I have to say to Mr. Bennett, you have saved students. So, thank you.
I will ditto everything, and also thank you, Ms. Paulhanis, for everything that you have done for years, as well as what you've been doing for the last few weeks. Thank you.
Yes.
So again, ditto, thank you everybody in the music department. It always always has a special place in my heart to hear this presentation and see the kids come in. And, you know, I look forward to working with the music department in some way, shape, or form through the administration in regards to improving our facilities. So,
Thank you, Mr. Marshall.
Ditto as well. Thank you to everybody. Yeah, I will cut it there.
Ms. Hahn?
Wonderful performances and wonderful presentation. I always appreciate your slideshow. I think it's excellent. And it's just a great service to the school, the district, and the music department, the way you're able to articulate your needs. So definitely take it under advisement or something more positive. That doesn't sound good. And yeah, Jamie, thank you so much. And we're missing Paula. I know everyone feels it and it's unsaid, but just shout out to Paula. And thank you, Mr. Paschke. I know that's not easy to get up and put that out there, so we appreciate it.
Ms. Drennan, you've been here for 2 hours. Now's your chance to say something. Any announcements, any thoughts?
As a member of the music department, like as a student, I really enjoyed seeing the presentation, more the statistics of it. And I definitely think we need more space. I know it's not my decision at all, but as someone who's tried to be in the practice rooms while 5th grade band is going on and there's 10 5th graders crowding you and trampling you and your stuff to get their instruments out of the practice rooms, it's not the most enjoyable experience. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Great, thank you.
Welcome. Well,
Mr. Paschke?
Welcome to Lacey, glad you're here. Congratulations to all of our retirees, that was amazing. Of course, the music department, stellar performance as usual, all the way around. I remember many years ago, I think it was Mr. Bennett who came in with a black chair. Was that the black chairs, was that?
I mean, are you the old wooden chairs and the kids are in this?
So we need to get these new black chairs and you talked, I think you brought the old splintery chairs in and lo and behold, at the beginning of the next school year, we had 200 new black chairs all over the place. So I fully expect to have 17 new music rooms by the fall. I just wanted to hit a couple quick things for the high school. We're in midterms and regents exams this week, Tuesday through Friday, so our kids are coming in and working on that. On Friday, we're going to have all of our students in the morning for a little presentation to teach them how to use our new anonymous tip line that is through Sandy Hook. See something, say something. So they're going to learn about that, how to access it. So all of our students will be here for that first thing in the morning, followed by the ELA Common Lit exam where they're going to all be measured in their literacy skills. And then just one quick congratulations to Lynn Cuthbert, Leah Waite. Leah goes to Forestville. She's not one of our students, but I want to include her because she's on our team. Maya Ponte and Michaela Hodkin. They're all going to states for girls wrestling, the state championship competition Thursday and Friday this week. So it's very exciting for them.
Clap out?
Clap out. Clap out is happening.
On Thursday?
Clap out, I believe, is Thursday, yes.
Mr. Drawlinger?
Yeah, I received a nice note from a parent. We had actually a handful of new students enroll since the start of the new year. I think 5 new kids. But one parent wrote me a note and she said the teacher recognized that the parent was a little apprehensive, and whereas the kid was really ready to go to work. So our teacher sent the parent a few text pictures of the kid, and the parent just wanted to express how nice that was, like a welcoming thing, whereas the child didn't need it, but the parent needed it more. And the student is already shining. So it was really nice to have that personal touch that our district allows for that. This is assessment week in the elementary school. We're measuring students' reading fluency, reading comprehension, as well as mathematics. And then Friday we meet with all of our teachers to review the data. I find it exciting because what I look for is growth, and I'm confident that we will see growth in our readers, and that's a testament to the teachers, which is exciting. And then, if you remember, last year, we brought in Miss Margaret Gray, our STEM teacher, for a little presentation. So I had a great meeting with her because we want to, she has the same passion that I do as a former science teacher, and I want to push STEM pretty heavily. So we had a pretty good meeting about where we can take this program and how we get creative schedule next year. So I look forward to hopefully give us, a year. We'd like to come back with some new things that we're doing to teach STEM in the elementary school. That's about it.
Great, thank you.
Oh, and check out her s'more. I put it on the Facebook page, but and you posted it for me. But it's a very in-depth review of our current STEM program. So check that out if you get a chance. Thanks.
So I can't quite tell if you're blushing or if you have a little tango in there.
I'm getting ready for a trip during spring break, so I like to get the base.
Looks good.
I'm not ashamed to say, yeah.
Looks good.
Thank you.
Ms. Farrell.
Just a couple of things. I'm looking forward to the in-service on 7 Habits and the start of Unified Bowling matches, which start next month. So, I'm sure we'll have some news on that, and just kind of, department-wise in special ed, myself and my instructional leaders, we're really looking very carefully at our student numbers for a couple of reasons. We're looking to plan for the next school year. How are we going to configure services? What are our needs looking like? What do our numbers look like? And how do we, just kind of reconfigure to meet our needs? And the other reason is I'll be doing a presentation at the next board meeting, the annual special ed, and, not to kind of belabor the point that Mr. Paschke made, but there, I've already started to drill down in some data, and there's some pretty significant increases, not just with 504s, but preschool special ed, school-age special ed. Those numbers have really gone up over the last 5 school years, so more to come on that.
And participation in modified bowling?
I don't have those numbers.
Okay.
I realized that when I opened my mouth.
It'll be big. It'll be big.
Yeah.
There's a lot of participation.
Yeah, and I will also say, it's not just your students, but the other participants, the volunteers that are along with them, that I think is
awesome.
just special. It's special, yeah. Ms. Piper?
I'm looking for the first UPKK ensemble, so let me know when you're ready to get that up and going.
Build a stadium.
Awesome. That's right. Can't wait. Kudos to Janice and Julie. Many years spent with them together, and every year I would hold my breath hoping that they wouldn't put in for retirement, and I was able to get through. They're pretty remarkable. So it's a huge loss to the district, but they've left definitely a legacy. We also are doing some screening for our early literacy students at kindergarten, so that has been ongoing, madly getting those scores and that data collected. We also have a partnership with SUNY Fredonia Science Department. Dr. Dunham reached out to us a couple months ago about coming over and visiting the Science Center and the planetarium. So our pre-K students and our kindergarten students were able to go over, visit the planetarium. They had some lessons on germs. They got to see kind of like where germs are and how to get rid of them, good hand washing, hygiene. And they also touched on the eclipse, which was neat for the kids to hear about pretty much for the first time. So I want to thank Dr. Dunham because he wrote a grant to allow our students to do that, so we didn't have to pay for the buses or anything. He actually had homemade cookies that his family had made for the students, but he went well above and beyond to make our students feel very welcome. So it was a great opportunity for them. And I just want to thank Darren for your courage, for representing us as an administrative team and speaking. It's hard to do. It's hard to do that. Our students have changed. My job, I've been here for almost 20 years, has changed. It's remarkably different. I use more of my school psychologist skills on a daily basis than I do my administrative skills. A lot of you laugh because I tend to know to wear my Converse because I'm running a lot. I'm listening for kids that are crying in the hallways, the kids that need help. I've looked at my budget. I'm ordering things that are more inclined to what a school psychologist needs than an administrator. I'm looking at, where can they lay down? Where can I have comfort, cozy, stress release? And it's real. It is real, and it is going to impact our student performance. Our teachers are talking more about social emotional behavior needs for kids than reading, because they can't read until they're able to really regulate their emotions, until they're able to get through a full day without tears. It's real. It's real. The kids know I have a huge snack stash in my office. I have a bed in my office. It's not rare to come to Wheelock and have students sleeping in my office because they need to. So I thank you, Darren, for putting that out there. It is a real concern, and we really need to look at what we're doing, not only at Fredonia, but education overall, because we're never going to be able to address the educational, academic needs of our students to allow them to be great musicians unless they feel safe, unless they're regulated, and I feel very strongly that's our responsibility. So, thank you, Mayor. Thank you all for the discussion.
Mr. Forbes? Okay.
Mr. Aldridge, just really quickly, I apologize to throw in two more quick things. We have two new students join us, one from Italy and one from Poland, and they're going to be starting right after our midterm break. They've already come to kind of fill out their paperwork and get a lay of the school and shadow a few students, so I'm excited for that. I think it would be really nice at some point later in the third quarter, we'll have a total of 4 international students this year, and just have them come in and meet with the board. And I neglected to congratulate you, Jamie. Jamie has been so top-notch. So I just thank the board for your support of Jamie, because it's well-deserved, and she's just fantastic. So I can't wait to see what great things come, because she already has a foundation of greatness. So I think there's going to be a lot of great more things. A lot more great things. There we go.
I didn't pay you to
Great
say
more.
that.
More great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Being that there's no further business, if I could have a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Ms. Hahn and Ms. Balforna? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?